strategy of STEP Azerbaijan.
I see.
Hello.
Hello.
Nice to
Hi,
see
how are
you.
you?
And thank you for having us tonight.
Oh,
Just
thank you for
for
the
the
invitation.
holidays.
Thank you for the invitation. Yeah.
Could you please make Dr.
STEP
Beckett?
Azerbaijan.
I see.
Hello.
Hello.
Nice to
Hi,
see
how are
you.
you? Hi, how are you? All right. So should I try? Let's see. Participants, chat, react, apps, more. Okay. So I'm looking for a way to share my slides.
Okay, maybe we should start first with a welcome speech, then
Okay,
introduction.
okay,
Yes, as
okay.
usual. Okay, so good evening, everyone, and welcome. It's a great pleasure to see so many educators joining us from different backgrounds and countries. And thank you for taking the time to be with us, especially at the end of the year, when we all are reflecting, planning ahead, and preparing for new beginnings. My name is Shalala Mehmedli, and I'll be your host for today's webinar. About today's webinar, what makes this webinar unique? First of all, this is the first joint webinar of its kind, organized collaboratively by IELTA, Azerbaijan Branch, International English Language Teachers Association, and STEP Azerbaijan, which stands for Society for Teaching Excellence and Progress. And this collaboration represents a shared commitment to supporting educators through meaningful professional development, evidence-based practices, and international academic exchange. Secondly, we are honored to welcome a truly distinguished guest speaker. We've been in contact for several months, but due to different circumstances, we couldn't make it. We were not able to meet earlier. So I can confidently say that today is the day we've been waiting for, and I'm truly delighted that this webinar is finally happening. And it's now my great honor to introduce our guest speaker for today's session, Dr. Gulbahar Beckett. Dr. Beckett is the Angela Pavitt Professor of English at Iowa State University. She has extensive experience and expertise in language education, theories, and practice, as well as many years of experience in teacher education, program administration, evaluation, and accreditation. Dr. Beckett is a widely published scholar and has authored and co-authored numerous books and research articles on project-based learning and teaching, language policies and practices, and research methods. Her research focuses on teaching and learning from both teachers and students' perspectives, offering valuable intersect in real classroom contexts. So her work has been widely cited internationally, reflecting its significant impact on the field of language education. And we are truly honored to have Dr. Beckett with us today, and very grateful for her willingness to share her expertise with our community of educators. Dr. Beckett, thank you very much for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you for that very kind introduction, and thank you for the invitation. And yeah, so let's see what we can do in 1 hour. All right, let me share. Okay, I see share. All right. Open system setting. Okay, well, I don't see how. What I wanted to share is my slides. That does not seem to one.
Let's try once again because you are co-host now.
Okay. Share content only. Share document. Okay. I need to no, I don't think I want to edit anything. Okay, it's not letting me share. Is there another way? So it's not letting me share my screen. What can we do? Anyway, so let me, because I prepared and reviewed last night, so I know what I want to do. So the goal for today is that I'd like to work with you. Is there a way to minimize? And no, I can't. So work with you to introduce PBLT, which is project-based learning and teaching. And then I would like to work with you to come up with some project ideas, and then work with you to design at least one project with AI and show you how you can do it. Because the first section that I want to do, hopefully I can, was somehow. But anyway, to show you what is PBL and why it's important for teachers to know. And because it's more complex than, for example, task-based language teaching, which is task-based language teaching typically does something like, you all know perhaps, something like look at the map and tell me where Baku is. But project-based learning is working on something real, a bigger real world tasks. For example, something like, of course, teaching language, because we are language teachers and language educators. But it's about teaching language by doing something real, something like applying for American university, like preparing, submitting, getting accepted to American university, submitting application. And while that, the whole endeavor is called the project. And then didn't understand. Oh, somebody admit? Okay, somebody. So by doing so, the idea is that we teach language, but the language of the real world many tasks. And so this includes learning subject content, learning how to think, learning how to analyze, learning how to work with people, and learning how to generate a product, which is a project, and then be able to communicate that project to people who need to know, usually public product. And then the idea is about educating the whole person. So as a result, this is complicated, more complex than a task of look at the map and tell me where Baku is, right? And because while it's better than just teaching vocabulary and grammar, because that asks students to use the vocabulary and grammar. But project-based language learning and teaching is bigger endeavor. So as a result, it's more complex. And so what I want, if I can show you, is what I want to do is to show you how while that's complex, what it does and how teachers can still work with language standards, etc., especially now that we have generative AI. And then I would like to leave some time for you to ask me questions. And so that's the goal, my goal for today. Let me try again to share. Share.
Or if it's possible, you could share it with me.
Yeah, I think that maybe another
Option, yeah.
sign in, another option. Okay, so I don't know where to sign in. So yeah, let me email you my slides. All right, hopefully I can get back in there. All right. So the email that your email address is the one that comes as Russian. Okay, attach. Browse this Mac. All right, Baku presentation. Okay, so okay, just sent. And another way to share this. Copy, share. No, copy, no, cannot. All right. Okay, so oh, okay. So I see that. You are able to share? Yeah. So that's what I planned for today. So here we go. Um, second, I just did the second one, introduction, and the slide. That's the goal for today. Yeah. Oh, after we identify and design a project, I'm thinking that we can analyze the project that we chose to design, and then analyze to see for you to see what else projects can do now other than just teaching language. And then what I wanted to what I would like to do, let's see if we can still do it, is to show you how an AI, this time it's called um, ML, Notebook ML. I was playing with that and it could do a lot of things, and then including summarizing an article, making it into videos, audio, visuals, etc. So I thought that I would show you that, and I hope I can make it work. So this is a summary of that paper. So next slide. Yes, so that summary is of this paper that colleague and I wrote in when we went to a conference in Spain, and that's the article that the notebook ML was able to beautifully summarize and do a video presentation. So I just saw that I can't share it with you, but let me see if I can play it from my computer and if you can still hear it. Because it just did such a beautiful job. All right, so technology, right? Okay, let me, how do I? So here's what I'm trying to do. I don't want to get out of, I don't want to lose you, but I also would like to get to my desktop. How do I do that? Let's see. Meeting. Oh, okay. Minimize. All right. So let me try that. Let's see my OneDrive. Too bad I can't.
In the meantime,
Can you hear that or
yeah, no,
you can?
not yet.
Oh, then that's not.
In the meantime, I would like to ask our participants as they listen. Yes, now it's audible. We can
Oh,
hear.
you can hear? Oh, wonderful. At least you can hear. Let me do it again. Okay, so here's that
Hey,
paper.
everyone, and welcome. We're diving into a huge question today. The world is changing at lightning speed. So, how should language education keep up? The answer, it turns out, is about way more than just memorizing words. I want you to think back for a second to your own language classes. Was it all just vocabulary lists and endless grammar drills? For a long, long time, that was pretty much the standard. But is that really enough to get students ready for the kind of complex, connected world we live in now? The research we're digging into today suggests a big, emphatic no. You know, that's because today's world runs on a totally different set of skills. People call them 21st century skills. We're talking about stuff like creativity, collaboration, communication, and critical thinking. And here's the kicker, they're all tangled together. You can't really do one without the others. You've got to communicate your creative ideas. You got to collaborate with people critically. And a lot of the time, you're using digital tools to do it all. So the real question becomes, how on earth do you teach that in a language class? And that leads us right into our first big point. The old methods, they're just not cutting it anymore. There's been this fundamental shift, right? We're moving away from teaching language as a bunch of separate little pieces and moving toward developing these much bigger, higher order ways of thinking. Here's the heart of the problem. When you learn vocabulary and grammar in a total vacuum, completely separate from how you'd actually use it in the real world, well, it's kind of like learning the names of all the parts of an engine, but never ever learning how to drive a car. It just doesn't prepare you for the real challenges you're going to face out on the road. Okay, so if the old way is broken, what's the fix? Well, let's jump into our next section, because this is where a really different approach comes into the picture. It's called project-based learning and teaching, or PBLT for short, and it's a pretty powerful solution. So what is PBLT exactly? At its core, it's all about learning by doing. Students tackle these big, complex projects that feel like real-world tasks. Here's an analogy I love. Traditional learning is like reading a cookbook. You read the recipe, you memorize the ingredients. PBLT is about actually getting your hands dirty in the kitchen, working with those ingredients and cooking the meal yourself. You learn the language you need when you need it, because you're actually trying to accomplish something with it. And you know, this isn't some crazy new fad. This idea has really deep roots, going all the way back to the educational philosopher John Dewey. Over 100 years ago, he was already arguing that the point of education isn't just to memorize facts that are going to be outdated in a few years. It's about, as he says here, preparing students for a changing society. In other words, teaching them how to learn and how to adapt. Okay, so that's the theory. Sounds pretty good, right? But does it actually work in a real classroom? The answer is a resounding yes. And the proof isn't just from one or two studies, it's pouring in from all over the world. What researchers are seeing again and again is this incredible pattern of benefits for students who are in these PBLT programs. And it's not just about getting better at the language, which, by the way, they do. It's about developing the whole person. We're talking about boosting their confidence, firing up their motivation to learn, and even building leadership skills and a deeper cultural understanding. And this slide just drives that home. Check out the global impact. In the US, international students said they gained confidence and leadership skills. Over in Morocco, the PBLT group blew their peers out of the water when it came to cultural awareness. And even in a place like China, which is very exam focused, this approach got even the quietest, most reserved students to open up and get engaged. It just plain works across totally different cultures and school systems. Now, I want you to just look at this number for a second. 3.5 times. What in the world could that represent in a school setting? It sounds pretty dramatic, doesn't it? Well, let's see what it is. Okay, here's the reveal. That number comes from a study of middle schoolers in the US. The group of students who used project-based learning showed 3.5 times more improvement in reading and language arts than the group that didn't. That's not just a little better, that is a massive, massive leap forward. So, PBLT is amazing. The evidence is overwhelming. We should just roll it out everywhere. Problem solved, right? Well, not so fast. Here's the twist in the story. There's one giant roadblock that's keeping this incredible approach from truly taking off. And that roadblock is this huge gap between the promise and the reality. On the one hand, you have all these amazing benefits for students: motivation, confidence, deep learning. But on the other hand, the reality for teachers trying to actually do this stuff is, well, it's tough. They often don't have clear guidance or enough support, and they really struggle to connect the cool project they're doing with specific language learning goals. And it's not just a feeling. The research is super clear on this. The exact same studies that prove how great PBLT is also point out this critical need. For this whole thing to work, teachers need a complete toolkit. They need clear guidelines, ongoing support, specific training on how to weave language and content together, and better ways to actually measure what students are learning. So this brings us right to the heart of the paper we're looking at today. If we want to really unlock the power of PBLT, we can't just throw new ideas at students. We have to start by focusing on the teachers. We need a real systematic plan to scale up the solution. So what does that plan actually look like? Well, the paper lays out a pretty clear 4-step blueprint for educating teachers. First, you start with the why, the philosophy behind it all. Then you move to the how, giving them practical, ready-to-use project examples. You've also got to bring in modern tools like AI. And maybe most importantly, you have to give them solid, reliable ways to assess their students' work. So really, when you boil it all down, it comes to this. We have a method that absolutely works. It gets students ready for the future by teaching them content, language, and all those critical skills at the same time. The key to making that a reality in every classroom is to invest in the people standing at the front of that room. And that kind of leaves us with one last big question to think about. We talk so much about preparing students for the future, about giving them 21st century skills. But doesn't it make sense that if we're serious about that, we have to start by preparing their teachers first? Maybe the best way to get our kids ready for tomorrow is to make sure their teachers are fully equipped today. Thanks for tuning in.
Okay, so that is the very good summary by AI of that paper on, again, what project-based learning and teaching does and why it's important and how we do it. So yeah, I'm glad that you could hear it, but too bad that you couldn't also see it, because it also generated fabulous visuals that made it so nice. But in any case, the article is open access. This is a URL for it. If you go to this URL, you can download the paper for free. So next slide. I think we're done with the next. Yes, C OneDrive. That's where we got the summary and reading. Okay, so now I thought that I'd like to work with you on some project ideas based on what you just heard. And here are some examples. For example, learning and teaching, and of course, English, right? You're English teachers and we are English language educators. But as you just heard, that we are now moving on from just teaching vocabulary and grammar like we've done it for decades into what else can we do for our students who come to us to learn English. So I thought we could brainstorm on some project ideas. So for example, learning and teaching English with researching language loss could be one project. And so for me, you just heard that it's about teaching language, teaching content subject, and teaching the language of the content, and also learn to research something, analyze data, communicating that data, working with people, etc. So for me, this would be um, a sociolinguistics content project. Language loss, right? We are all experiencing language loss because of not only because of large languages such as um, English, Arabic, Spanish, Chinese, etc., but also technology is well, blessing and curse. Blessing as in it's allowing us to do many things much more efficiently. Curse because it's developed by and by people who speak English, and it's being disseminated also by English and other large language speakers. So therefore, our students and ourselves are using English to work with AI. That drives more and more people, including our students, to do the same. As a result, smaller languages are in danger of um, um, being, let's say, lost. Let's say this loss sounds like it's our fault that we're losing our languages. In fact, it's being um, displaced by technology and large languages. So that's one project. Another project idea could be teaching, learning English to Americans, teaching Americans with English, um, Azerbaijani songs, for example, could be a project. And this, like any cultural situation, I assume Azerbaijani songs have many categories: folk songs, popular songs, and classic songs, etc. Right? We can make this introducing or teaching Azerbaijani songs to Americans, again in English, a project. So this would be having students research Azerbaijani songs, find out how many categories of songs Azerbaijani songs belong to, and that by doing that they learn the research skills, and then after they find this, analyze these songs, putting them in categories. So then that's research skills. And then teaching Americans about Azerbaijani, an aspect of Azerbaijani culture. So then that means they get to not only they just learned how to research, right? Then they get to use English to practice speaking real English by trying to teach Americans about Azerbaijani songs. Another project idea would be learning or teaching English by applying for American universities. This could be a project, actually a project that a colleague and I wrote up and published in the Max T-Cell Journal, which is also open access. If you are interested, you can. So I'm not sure if you have to work with some kind of standards, but in US, when we have intensive English programs, we are asked to work with somebody's standards. The adult intensive English programs usually work with CIFAR, Council of European Framework for Languages, etc. So I thought that maybe you do the same, and if you don't, you can pick your standard. And So I thought that I'll show you, well, we can work together first to pick a project that you would like to work on. And then we work together with AI. And for me, my university asks us to use Copilot, which comes with Microsoft Word. And I've been trying Copilot to design and develop projects, not only one project, but also projects for, I just designed one for a colleague at the University of Nebraska for her whole intensive English program. And it's so efficient that I thought I'll show you how it can be done so that you get to see how easy it is to design and even develop a project. So, okay. So how about we'll brainstorm on some projects? What if you were to do teach English through a project, um, what are some project ideas you think that you might work with? Yes, there are a lot there. Right, I hope I can still, I know you hear me. Do I hear you?
We have some interesting ideas in our chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, in the chat. All right.
Yes. For
Yes,
example,
yes, in the chat. Yeah, good, good. Yes.
investigating and learning environmental problems through language.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. That's a good one too, because climate change, right? And we're all concerned. So this is a good one. Yeah. So let's say if we make this a project, let's brainstorm. Okay, let me see. Investigating and learning environmental problems through language. Yes, any language actually. Let's say since we are ESL English language educators, let's say in English. If I cannot, are you all are you all at this moment within the reach of some kind of AI? Since you can't see my screen, I'm wondering if we can all work together to.
They could use their mobile phones.
Mobile phone? Okay. So here are some prompts that I would use. Let's work together on this, and then I can at least share what I see. Okay, let me get on to investigating, learn. Okay, let's make this a little more concrete to say. So this can be made into a few projects, but one can be all right. So I'll go on to my Copilot. And I'm typing in please. This is Copilot. Okay, please. If you can do the same with whatever AI that you have, and then we can compare notes. So I'm typing in my prompt is for Copilot. Please.
Can
Is
they use ChatGPT because it is the most popular AI here?
okay. So you use ChatGPT and I'll use Copilot and we can compare notes. All right. So the prompt I'm typing in is that please design an 8-lesson project on the impact of climate change, impact of climate change on Azerbaijani farming. Okay, so that's the prompt that I typed in. I asked it to please design an 8-lesson project on the impact of climate change on Azerbaijani farming. Okay, I already have the 8-lesson project ideas here. I'll give you a minute to see what you come up with. All right, so what did you come up with? What did your AI come up with? Was the same prompt. Oh, okay, do I still have my, yeah, I do. Would somebody like to share? Would anybody like to share what your AI is able to do, or? No? Okay, how about I share what my Copilot did. So with that prompt, here's what it did. Lesson 1, Introduction to Climate Change and Agriculture. The objective, understand global climate change in its relevance to culture. So activities, you can do lecturing of greenhouse, temperature rise, um, precipitation changes, case study of global agricultural impact, short reflection on why agriculture is vulnerable. So it came up with this like in a few seconds. Okay, so
Yes.
lesson 2, yeah?
And we have one more result here shared
Okay.
in the chat.
Yes, please share.
Yes, are you able to see the chat? Because it is shared there.
Oh, okay.
Green Azerbaijan Resilient Futures.
Oh, all right, let's see, chat. Oh, okay, so you shared it here. Let's see. Good. Um, lesson 1, objective, familiarize Azerbaijani tradition. Oh, the song. Okay. Yeah, goals. All right. Activity, listening. See? Listening. And just to folk songs, discuss themes in English. Excellent. Yes. Vocabulary warm-up, assessment. Yes. Wonderful. All right. Build English vocabulary. Excellent. And the vocabulary using song lyrics. Excellent. Yes. Translate selected verses, words. See, this is excellent because we are sticking to the language teaching while we are doing um, content teaching culture, right? The content is culture here. And vocabulary quizzes, yes. So how do you assess this? Vocabulary quizzes and assessment, excellent. So this is excellent because teachers often ask, how do I assess a project, right? So your ChatGPT was able to show you this. Excellent pronunciation, yes. Still teaching language, improve English proficiency. Here's some activities that you can use. Yes, wonderful. An 8-lesson, lesson 5, cultural storytelling. See, practicing speaking. but practicing something real, not just for the sake of English only, but to also do something with English. So explore the story behind the song. Yes, absolutely. Folk tale. Uh, discuss the cultural value. Yes, what the speaking of language loss. This songs are important for us to collect so that we can keep them for our cultures later. Oral presentation, creative adaptation. Yes, wonderful. English, yes. Promoting bilingualism, absolutely. Assessment, collaborative project, applied skills, yes. Group work, collaborative work, creating visuals, assessing again, showcasing. The hallmark of project-based learning, that is, you show people what you produced as a project. Absolutely. This allows students to create, utilize their creative skills by designing posters, presentations, and be able to speak and articulate and illustrate. Yes, final formatting and assessment, expected outcomes. This is wonderful. So yes, this is basically the kind of thing that AI can help us do. See, it came up, AI can do these kind of thing for us, like in a few seconds. So what I would do, so my point is that because of this, we definitely should and must do project-based language teaching and learning away from this archaic language, grammar, and vocabulary only kind of teaching. So it's possible now. There's no reason not to do it, is what I'm saying. Okay, so this is wonderful. So from here, what I would also do is that the Copilot can do this. So I would ask it, the next prompt would be something like align these lessons with CIFAR, let's say level, CIFAR is A, B, and C. So let's say if your students at the uh, intermediate or beginning level, and one of the questions that teachers often ask, another question that they ask is, can I do project-based teaching to students who do not have high English proficiency? So the answer is yes. So yes, and you adjust the activities. So I would then say something like to ChatGPT. The next prompt would be, please align the above lessons for CIFAR level A2 students. Can you do this, please, and see what it tells you? So
Yeah.
that will help you, one, to see what can you do with students at that level if you were to do a project-based teaching. Two, it can show your director that you're not just coming up with something out of nowhere. You're still teaching language aligned with standards, like acceptable, the European framework. Everybody uses that. So could you do that and see what you can come up, what it does for you?
Yes, we are waiting for our educators. And by the way, in the meantime, I encourage them to reflect on their own teaching context. If they have already implemented project-based learning or if
Ah,
they are planning to do so, please note down your questions and thoughts because
yes.
we had some time um, uh, during Q&A segment.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So this would,
Yes, dear teachers, please ask your AI to align it with the current level of your students, like let's say A2.
yeah, yeah. Yes, I see here, cipher. Right, right. Okay, so we all see now that
Yes,
it
we see you.
recreated the project aligned with your students' level. Let's say A2, right?
Mhm.
They can do, yeah, shorter songs, for example, 5 to 10 minutes, simple words, but it can still be project-based rather than just, again, vocabulary and boring grammar again, right? Practice saying them aloud. See how wonderful it is? It can do this. Um, so the next prompt I used, and I was also just, um, oh, this is excellent activity. See, go, sing, love, highlighting the verbs. This is wonderful because another question that teachers often ask, because sometimes research in the 90s showed that when you ask teachers to do content-based language teaching, which PBL is about actually, the teachers forget to teach or do not know how to teach the
Mhm.
content subject and also language. So they forget the language. So see, therefore this lesson 4, for example, I'm looking at here, the one that you posted in the chat area. Lesson 4, grammar in simple sentences. Look at that, activities, highlight the verbs, go, sing, love, practice past and present tense, sing, sang, people used to sing. My grandpa sang the song all the time for us, right? And then write simple sentences. So see what AI can do to help us uh, design projects that also highlight language and content. This is wonderful. Yes, that was going to be my next prompt. It looks like you already found it. So a few questions answered. Does this work for low language proficiency students? Yes. Can I still teach language? Of course, look at this. It shows. So my next prompt, I don't know if you want to do it now or later, but my next prompt for Copilot was um, so something like tell me what teachers can do to effectively implement the above lessons that you designed for me. So it would produce things like here are some tips for doing this. Here are some activities that you can do. It also says that here are some resources that you can use to do these projects. And if it doesn't, you can ask what are the resources. For example, you can say, where do I go to find, where or do we or students and myself can go find the all Azerbaijani songs? Is there some database or etc.? So it gives you that. And then you can type in another prompt that says, tell me, give me some ideas for my students. What is it that they can do to implement this? It does this, it does similar things. It can say things like students can do this. They can go to such and such website to find visuals to present their work. They can search such and such websites to find Azerbaijani songs, etc. And here's what they can do to teach this to Americans because Americans would like to know, yada yada. So it is just so fascinating. It can, and you can even ask it to say, okay, so I'm supposed to something like another prompt can be something like, so project-based teaching is supposed to be about teaching language, content, motivating students, teaching students collaboration skills, teaching students creativity, teaching them how to analyze, how to synthesize. And so please show me which one of these activities, how did this 8 lesson project do all those? Oh my goodness. It can show you, like, you can even ask it to show you, graphically show me how did my project do all this. Oh, it just made me so, I was just mesmerized by what AI can do to show you that. So what that will do for you as a teacher is to show you that you're not, how powerful this project is that you're doing with your students. It makes you feel so good that you taught not just vocabulary, not just pronunciation, but look how much more that you have taught, right? Or you can teach with this project. And it again, your students can showcase, and they're so proud how much they could do with English. They're not just learning, again, just vocabulary and grammar. And together, the teachers and students can show this to the world, to your administrators, to their classmates, and also even seriously to the world. And you have no idea how empowering that is for students. And the project-based learning and teaching is also supposed to be about solving real-world problems, as we just saw, like climate change, for example. And American students um, feel so proud when they do projects. One particular project, for instance, is in the, I think it was in Maryland area, that there was a building that there's used to be a lot. I hear now that they're being bought off by rich people, but for a long time we had all this buildings, some industrial area sitting vacant somewhere in the middle of the city or in some near a nice neighborhood. But in any case, so this project, a teacher had her students do in Maryland area was that there was such a area beside their school. So they saw it as eyesore, as in not looking very good, something sitting there near our school. So the teacher told the students to do something about it. Ask the students, what would you do if you were to solve this problem? The students came up with a project wanting to solve this problem. And their end result was they did some research on why this thing was sitting here for how long. Why is it not being refurbished? And if they were city government people, what would they do as students? So after their research, their creativity solution, they wrote a letter to the city government to say, here is the project, the research project that we've done about this. And here's how it's been sitting there for so long. And here's what we think you can do to make use of it. Oh my goodness, the city actually did what the students suggested. These students just felt like $1 million, each of them. They felt like, oh, they realized the power that they have. And this showed students that they truly are the future of our world, that they can actually do something real. So I think this traditional teaching, not just language, but all kinds of traditional teaching, we don't, the strategies don't take students seriously. We teach them bits of this, bits of that. We don't see them as future doctors, future climate scientists, future sociolinguists that who will be saving our languages, or not just passive learners of American culture, but also introduce Azerbaijani culture to the world, for example. So when students can see, especially with AI, if you teach them how to do this with AI, they see themselves as future scientists. And they see English as, oh, because of English, I can also do this, introduce this to Americans, to British, to Australians, etc. So, so that's why I think this is really exciting to use this approach. to, again, not only just teach English, but with English, we educate our future citizens. And also, usually the minorities, in this case, in US, the project that I just told you about was about African American students. And these minority students usually don't feel empowered. They don't feel that they are taken seriously. So when this teacher had them do this, and when the city took their ideas, research seriously and did something with it, these students felt like, oh, they have a voice. They can do things. They can solve really, really real world problems. So this can equip our students to know what they can do. Let's say probably in Azerbaijan, there might be minority students, but let's say even majority students in Azerbaijan. Let's say if you were to teach them this, when they go to somewhere else, when they become minority, let's say when they come here, they become minority, but they come with that knowledge of their ability. So they would integrate to the global society much more easily, knowing that they too can do what American students can do. So for me, especially with this AI, this approach, project-based learning and teaching, is way more powerful and necessary than again, the traditional ways of teaching. We can utilize what we've been doing to do much more. So that is what I am about nowadays. And I have a book in production at the publishers. It's for teacher education. It's to help teachers do this. So yeah, that's why what I played for you, created again by AI, that was so excellent, I thought.
Yes.
So yeah. Oh,
Um,
good morning from Peru. Oh my goodness, good morning. Yes. So I think I talked a lot, so I'm open now to answer your questions.
yes. Yes. We are waiting for your questions. And I also have a question for you, dear Dr. Beckett. Uh,
Yes,
I know that one of the core elements of project-based language learning is the driving question.
yes.
So, yes, so from your experience, what makes a driving question truly effective? And how can our teachers ensure that it remains meaningful and motivating throughout the entire project?
Yeah, the driving question for me would be um, a question, of course, that is related to what we teachers plan for the project. We do that knowing that that must be done, right? But make it also relevant to students, and um, also relevant, and give students the question should be in such a way that the students can do what they are interested in doing. That
Mhm.
is another power of project-based learning. For example, let's say, again, the Azerbaijani song project. We can say if that's the project, but we can say to students, okay, there are, let's say, 10 or 12 kinds of Azerbaijani songs. We can say to students, let's say if we have 20 students in a class, we can say in pairs of two, each two of you choose one type of Azerbaijani song, and then research that, and then do all that needs to be done. So, but you give the choice to the students to say, you pick what you're interested in. And somebody may be interested in folk songs because their grandparents sing those to them. Others may be interested in pop songs because their brothers dance to them, right? Somebody else may want to research on the classic history of something. So to me, the driving questions, the questions that help you address what the lesson or the unit is supposed to address. Unit would be a project, right? But it's relevant to students' interest, and it also should be able to have the sustaining ability, which is 8 lessons, right? It's not the kind of question that look at the map and tell me where Baku is. That's not driving question because, oh, I see it there. That's all. There's nothing more to do, visit, right? It's more like tell me the history of Baku. And so those, and then driving question for me would also include the product, the real world creation. What can we do with that? Can we take this to somewhere? And again, back to this Azerbaijani song project, this can be added to some kind of database, although it's students done research, but this research project can be added to somebody's libraries. Who knows? Maybe someday it could be useful. So
Yes.
so those would be the kind of driving questions. Student relevance to students. It can solve, is sustainable for whole project. It's a real world, solving real world problems, and meaningful for the all parties involved.
Thank you so much. And we have one more interesting question here.
Okay.
Madam, please guide us for the assessment criteria of this project-based learning, especially when it's in group. Thank you.
Yes, a great question. And all teachers ask that. And because it's project-based teaching and learning, much more complex, as you've seen already, than, again, teaching grammar and vocabulary. It has been challenging to know how to assess it, right? But the exciting thing is that AI can tell us how. So one prompt you can always enter is that now tell me, this is to AI, right? Any AI. You say, okay, now tell me how should I be assessing the project you just designed for me? And it can give you numerous ideas. You can even ask AI to give you ideas on how to assess them based on such and such standards. Let's say CIFR, right? You can also ask it to say, also tell me how do I assess the content? If we don't also assess the content knowledge, did they actually learn anything about Azerbaijani culture, particularly like songs? Then it's like we are again still back to language only. So we ask them to tell us, how do I assess the content? How do I know they actually learned something about songs, right? You can ask it to say, in this assessment, also show me if they learned how to work with people, collaborative learning. In the assessment include, how do I assess critical thinking, which is another hallmark of Pbll. In this assessment tool, also tell me, how do I assess digital skills? Did they learn any digital skills? Of course they did, they just used AI. But this AI can show you, how do you know that they actually achieved this? How do you assess this? And so, yeah, so I tried that and I was just flabbergasted. I said, okay, tell me, how do I assess language? How do I assess content? How do I assess cooperative learning, collaboration, critical thinking, communication skills, digital literacy? And so it did. And I said to it, it came up with bullet points, right? I said, okay, now, but another prompt for it was that now put all this information in a table, in a column, so that I can see, for language, here's what I do. For content, here's what I need to look for. For communication skills, here's what I need to look for. Oh my goodness, it just does fabulous job. And again, it can do it in just a few seconds. And if you, for people who do research on this, you can even say, you can even ask it to suggest research articles that support this, right?
Mm.
So it is just, seriously, I was just floored to see what it can do. So yeah, AI can help you do this. And I seriously asked it to show me how to do this in columns and aligned with standards. Again, let's say CFR A2 students, show me how do I assess all this. And when you see what AI tells you, you'll be so amazed. It makes you think there's no way not to do this. It tells you in a few seconds, and yeah, it's no longer a problem. It can help us. And of course, as humans, we still need to use our agency to see it is so good that it's kind of 99% perfect. But we can still, of course, to check, double check to see if that's what we want, right?
Yes.
And of course, you may not want to assess all the components, but you can. And it makes you even more excited, thinking that, oh my goodness, look at me, a language teacher, look what I've taught, right? And you can show students, you can even ask AI to come up with self-assessment rubric for you,
Mm.
peer assessment rubric for you. So you can utilize students to help themselves to say, okay, now after you, or as you're working on your project, make sure that you covered all these, right? And I teach a project-based course here at the university. And I actually, at first I wondered, can they really do it? Oh, they can. And then they also have this peer review rubric, right? Give that to students to say, okay, now check if your classmates did this. You rotate the group and tell them that now you check so and so. So this peer review, and international people usually think that peer review is waste of their time. Only teachers should do my review, right? But in reality, when you get students used to it, they actually see how peer review is useful, not only for this for their peers they are reviewing for, but also what they learn from their peers. We just finished our semester, and the project-based course that I taught had this post course uh, post course survey. The survey included things like what did you learn, blah blah, and one of the items is that what did you learn from peer review.
Mm.
Oh, I was just so happy to see that I didn't design the course, my colleagues did. So I was still happy to see, because I kind of wondered if what students might say about peer review. So out of 23 students, 22 of them said that the peer review helped them learn from their peers. Said that by reviewing my peers' work, I realized that I should also have done yada yada.
Mm.
Then when I added that, my project became so much better. I did not realize that I forgot to do yada yada, or that I could have done, I could have added visuals. I could have added sound. So yes, you can again ask AI to give you
Mm.
peer review templates. You can ask AI to give you, create for you uh, rubrics for self-assessment. So with all this, and it's also consolidation of knowledge by peer reviewing, self-evaluation, and then you evaluating them. The students can um, reinforce what they're supposed to do, learn from each other, and then you can review. And you can do all those, again, tell AI to do this for you, again, based on some standards. If my students were CIFR 2, and if I were to address, let's say, Azerbaijani TESOL standards, um, uh, if I'm supposed to be teaching, again, let's something like passive voice and collaborative learning, and ask it to say, did this project do this? And if it did, where does it show, right? Oh
Yes.
my goodness, it can show it to you in a few seconds.
Yes.
Speaking of how, yeah, speaking of how to show, I'm just, I don't know, I should have checked, but I didn't have time. I don't know what Azerbaijani TESOL standards are. So in case you wonder if AI would know that, you could enter the URL for the AI to say, where does it go to find Azerbaijani TESOL standards? And it can grab it from there.
Yes.
It's just fabulous. Yes.
And talking about AI, we have an interesting question about AI usage. One of our educators from Ukraine, she asks, that she says that it's a complicated issue of academic integrity in
Mm.
Ukraine. So, is there a
Mm.
policy regulating using AI in your university?
Yes, absolutely. So our policy is that, like anybody else, we came from panicking 2.5 years ago to now we've come down. And what I say to students is that, well, like the university, we agree now, is that yes, you may copy. And it's true that we discovered that we can't catch you, because each time you ask AI to do something, each time it does it slightly differently. So therefore, there's no way to catch anybody who's plagiarizing now. But just like 40 years ago, people wrote their dissertations and their articles, and we weren't able to catch them. Now, because of technology, people are getting caught. Remember that the professors and presidents in the US, somebody caught them plagiarizing a sentence, so their degree is now revoked, right? So that's the kind of thing that I say to my students. Okay, we may not know now, but in 2 months, somebody will come up with another AI which can tell us how to catch every plagiarized something. So do you want then your degree to be revoked? So that's the biggest thing, big picture. And the second thing is to say your parents pay for your education, or that in US, actually, most students work to support themselves. So why do you want to waste your money on not learning, right? So the policy is, those are the kind of practical things that we say to students to help them understand. So the larger policy is that we ask them to utilize AI for things like what we just did. Brainstorm, get
Yes.
ideas, right? But when it's time to actually do what you need to do it yourself. For instance, you need to learn how to calculate in statistics. In project-based learning, you still need to learn English. Of course, it can tell you, here's how you spell, but you still need to spell. And we are also going more like, more and more of us are doing many things in class to check if students actually understood it. For instance, do in-class presentation, and not just after class writing kind of assignment. In that, it's difficult to know, right? We have them uh, present in class, and there's some talk on just give people a computer that's not internet connected. For instance, doctoral dissertation, or not dissertation, like a comprehensive exam, for example, right? You give them a computer where there's no internet connection, and the room has no internet connection, no phone. You sit there for 3 days and we'll feed you and then write your exam. So
Mhm.
those are the kind of things that we can put in place. And I think students are also realizing um, that they use this, like any tool that came before AI,
Yeah.
as a tool to empower them, but they actually want to learn.
Mhm.
And last year we have this annual technology and language learning conference. Last year there were a group of professors from Kazakhstan actually presented at our conference, and their finding, the study was about how do students feel about using AI. And one finding of that study that impressed me so much is that the students said that they actually felt awful when they used AI to do their writing
Mhm.
because they felt like cheaters, and that living with that was just ate them up, and they just didn't like that feeling. And but more importantly, another finding in that study is that uh, AI made them feel um, not better, but worse, because AI made them feel like, this is English language learning students saying that it made them feel like their English is never good enough. So they decided that, yes, I'll use AI or any other tool to learn, but I don't want to rely on that to tell me that I'm forever not good enough. So it made, basically what they said is that made them feel disempowered rather than empowering. So
Mhm.
I was so happy to hear that students from Kazakhstan realized it. So I think students everywhere eventually would know that this is silly, right? And if it can do everything, including writing, then what am I supposed to do? It made me feel useless, kind of idea. So the policy again in summary, it's that we encourage them to use it for brainstorming, for suggestions, for things like, for example, things like professors like me, for example, cannot do well, which is something like a visual creation.
Mhm.
There are so many apps there that it can do.
Yes.
So we would ask AI to do it, let's say create a mind map or conceptual map for such and such, and definitely acknowledge
Yes.
which AI did this, which version of it, and what prompts actually we used to have it do this, and on what day, what time.
Mhm.
So that it's like citing the journal articles.
Mhm.
So that's the policy, and I think students understand. Yeah. So
The
after a bit of hype,
responsibility, yeah.
yeah.
And one more thing that I like about PBL actually is that even if you are if you have you are feeling lack of resources, if you have low tech classrooms, still you can use it.
Yes, yeah,
You just need to adapt it
yes.
to the needs of your students, and that's all.
Yes, like go talk to people, right? Let's say if there's no internet, you go to ask your grandma or grandpa about folk songs, right? Low tech. And
Yes.
then go to the library to read a book to find out what Azerbaijani songs are all about. Yes, and then absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point, because well, I do this kind of work for yeah, periphery countries, including Kurdistan. Teachers often say things like, "What if we don't have those?" So yes, so good points. Yeah.
Yes, and do we have any questions, dear audience? If you have, please feel free to share in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and
Oh,
ask
sorry.
your question.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
please. Yeah.
So just a second. Okay, thank you for this wonderful training. I really enjoyed it and I learned a lot. You are
Oh.
most welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, as we come to the end of today's webinar, I would like to once again thank our distinguished guest speaker, Dr. Gülbahar Beckett, for an engaging and thought-provoking session. I would also like to thank IELTS Azerbaijan, STEP Azerbaijan, and all of you, our dear participants, for being part of this meaningful professional learning experience. We hope that today's discussion has inspired you to explore and implement project-based language learning in ways that are meaningful, sustainable, and context-sensitive. We wish you a wonderful end of the year, continued professional growth, and we look forward to welcoming you to our future events. Thank you very much for joining us, and have a great evening. See you next time.
Yeah,
Goodbye.
thank you for having me. Yeah. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Good night. Thank you. Good night.
Yes, good night. Yes.
Thank you.